Hello, Gareth here, and this is Outdoor Watercolor Painting Part 2. So in this part I'm talking about general preparation for going outdoors, and it is very important before you even think about art materials that you are properly prepared for going outside. And this is especially true if you're going into the wilds, into the countryside. So my first point is always tell somebody where you are going. So you know, men, as a man I know this, sometimes we just go off into the blue yonder and we never think anything is going to happen to us, but it can happen, and it can happen very easily. One moment you might be fine, and then the next moment something could happen, and you can't move, or you can't get back to the car. And so if nobody knows where you are, then you're in big trouble. And this happened to me. This happened to me, and it was quite frightening because I climbed up this mountain that I found, and there are many mountains in Japan, so nobody would know which one I had gone up, or my wife wouldn't. She didn't even know I was going up a mountain. I just got my painting stuff, went off, and anyway, I climbed all the way to the mountain with all my painting equipment. So this is an important point. I don't recommend you take a lot of painting equipment up a mountain with you. I took an easel, and it was a very steep mountain, and that was very hard. So you can take just a sketchbook and your cell phone, and that will be enough, and then paint the image later in the studio. But if you're really keen, then you can take a small pad and just a few paints and a few brushes, and then paint the scene on top of the mountain. But anyway, getting back to what happened to me is when I got to the top of the mountain, it was beautiful, and I wanted to paint an evening scene. And that was a very bad idea, because I painted the evening scene, and as I was coming down the mountain, it suddenly got dark very quickly. So at first it was no problem, because at the top of the mountain it was kind of bushy, or firs, which are very low, and so you can see. But at a certain point you enter a forest, and once I entered that, it was pitch black, and I was having to feel my way down the path, and it was a very windy path with lots of big stones and small rocks and drops, little drops about 1 or 2 feet, you know. So I was basically going down eventually on my bottom all the way down the hill and mountain, sorry. But I got to a point where I couldn't find the track anymore, and I was completely lost, and I didn't have a cell phone, so that would have helped me, because that would have been a light. So that's one of the first things. So the first point was tell somebody where you're going. The second point is have a light. So a cell phone will do, but maybe a small torch, just in case your cell phone battery runs out, because that often happens, especially with my wife. And of course maybe that light uses a lot of energy probably, so it's soon going to run out. So a small torch could be a lifesaver. Anyway, I spent the whole night on the mountain, and my wife didn't even know I was gone. She woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and then thought, oh, where's Gareth? And then called the police, and I met them at the bottom of the hill in the morning. And but anyway, just I hope that's a lesson for you. If you're going to go into the countryside, tell somebody where you're going, take a torch, and just think about things that can happen, accidents that can happen. So when I was going up that mountain, there was a very high chance as well that I could have just slipped on a rock, and if I'd fallen down, the ground was very, very rough ground, lots of big stones. So if I'd landed badly, I could have broken a bone and been stuck on the mountain. And there were very few people going up the mountain on that particular day. So that's a very, very important point. So okay, I think I've done points number 1 and 2. So point number 3 is wearing the right clothes. So to be honest, I like to wear shorts, but sometimes if you're walking in long grass, you can be bitten, and there are really horrible things sometimes in the grass, little, what is it, ticks and mites. So you never really think about it. And even in the city, in parks, you can like be bitten by these things, and it can be really, really bad. There's some tiny thing here in Japan, and I don't think it's this prefecture, but the one next to it, that bit a farmer or something and killed him. And I think that's only happened a few times, but I think it's always best to copy the farmers who are living in the countryside. And here in Japan, they just cover their whole body. So they wear long pants, which I don't really like, but that's what they wear, big boots, and long sleeve tops, and gloves, and even their head is all covered. It's they're completely covered. There's just a little hole here for looking out, and I think it's good to copy them. And they have a little towel around here for wiping the sweat off their head, so that can be a good thing too. So wearing the right clothes, and also a good point there is so there's quite a lot about that. For example, in springtime and autumn time, especially here in Japan and maybe in your country, in the morning it can be quite chilly, and then midday it can be really quite unpleasantly hot. And if you're wearing normal clothes, then you're wearing many layers. So it is good to wear that thermtech, is it, kind of clothing that is very lightweight, and you only need a few layers, but it can insulate you very, very effectively, and you don't have to take off lots of clothes or put on lots of clothes. So I strongly recommend those kind of clothes for when you go outside. So of course in winter time you're going to need, you know, something very to protect you from the cold. But I also find that waterproof coats are very good, because they're very lightweight, and although they're thin, you get that wind protection because the wind can't get in. Sometimes with a thick coat, the wind somehow still manages to get in. So it's better to wear sometimes one of those anoraks or waterproof coats in winter time, and then some of those like thermtech sweaters and vests and things like that, and you can soon feel quite warm with those kind of things, and it's also more comfortable. Of course in summertime, you know, wear a hat with a wide brim all the way around, not a baseball cap, because you can get seriously burnt on the back of your neck. And of course sunglasses. The problem with sunglasses is if they are tinted, then it will affect how you see your colours, and so your painting might be a bit off. I think bit by bit you can adjust and get used to that, but that is an important point. Wearing sunglasses that are tinted will affect how you see colours. It can sometimes be good, to be honest, because I wear these rose tinted sunglasses, and suddenly all my paintings look kind of rosy, I think. I think so anyway. So so sometimes it has a benefit, but see what happens with you, see if you can see a difference. So I think I've covered that. And of course water and food. So once again, I was very silly. I used to go out in the countryside, paint all day, sometimes very hot. I took no water, no food. Honestly, my stomach felt like somebody was wringing it out. The pain was unbelievable. It was really tightening towards the end of the day. So take some water, take small sips, maybe a little bit of salt in there if it's summertime, and take some food. My lunchbox is terrible. I stick some bread in there, tomato, maybe a banana. It all gets mashed up and it's all a bit wet. So hopefully you can do something a bit better than that. But you will need something to eat. It does make a difference. So I think I've covered everything there. But if you've got any questions, then please ask me. So I hope that was helpful. Really, just in summary, I'll just quickly go over the main points. Tell somebody where you're going. Take a flashlight and also a cell phone for emergency call. I didn't say that, so take a cell phone for emergency call, but be careful because in the countryside there might be no signal, so that's a serious problem. And have the right clothes. I recommend lightweight thermtech clothes, and protect yourself from the elements. So wide-brimmed hat, sunglasses. Oh, and I didn't really say this. Always have a raincoat just in case of light rain, and also chill factor, windy. So a light waterproof coat is a raincoat is really good, and some water and some food. And then I didn't really maybe say this clearly enough, but if I did, then just one more time. Also think about where you're going and think about potential dangers. Think about, oh, if I fell over here and broke my hip, what would I do? I mean, maybe that sounds a bit too much, but if you're a city person, then you're really out of your element when you go into the countryside. You really are. So if you don't respect that that's a different environment, I think if we live in the city, we really become a bit like babyfied in some ways. And there's help everywhere we look in the city, but in the countryside it can be just empty. So I often experience that. So it's really important somebody knows where you are, and you've got ways of contacting people. You can see in the dark, you've got a bit of food, you've got something to keep you warm. It really does matter, especially in the countryside. So do think about that, because I didn't, and I had a very scary night on a mountain top, and I hope you don't have that same experience. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please press the like button. I'm supposed to say hit the like button, but just press it is good enough. Press that like button, I'd really appreciate it. And anything I've missed, then please tell me. I will try in the section at the bottom to write down these main points, so hopefully that will be helpful. And I've written all about this in great detail on my website, so there'll be a link at the bottom that you can click on and get more information. So that's all. Happy painting, and bye for now.